and think about how are organisms categorized. So this has been one of the main things we've been leading up to. We had just finished, and so I'm kind of doing what you guys are doing. I just have our notes right up on my phone so I can follow along. And I'm going to do my best to fill them out here so you have them. All right, so we had just finished talking about niche. And that's what we did at the end of class. All right, so remember, niche is just this combination of the biotic and abiotic. Okay, so remember when we were looking at this, right, we had the two kinds of niche. We had fundamental versus realized. Right? So remember we thought of this one? Fundamental being everything. Okay, what is all of the different things that could make our biggest desires? So for our human version, right, we akin this to the Kim Kardashian house. Right, so we all need a roof, and we all need a bathroom, and we all need some place to have food stored. Right, and if we think about what that can look like in our wildest dreams, giant mansion, weird sinks, lots of cats, right? And we compared this to the realized niche. Okay? And so the realized niche is what things get pared down to. Realized or reduced to. And after competition and all of that biz. Okay. So from our human example, remember this was like our dorm room. Okay, still has all of those same markers. It's a shelter, it's got bathrooms and places to store food and places to sleep. Okay? But it's the smallest version, at least that I could come up with. Okay? So we're thinking about things like niches, right? We're really thinking about if we look at all of the things that make an organism, what are its living relationships, right? And all of the things that it uses that are non-living, right? Never living. Okay, how does that create its needs and its placements in the world? Okay, that feel okay? That's where we left off in class. I know we've had a rough start this morning. Hey, any questions about niches? Weirdly wet. Things are going great up here. Okay. It's like the world's smallest board, so please excuse all the erasing I have to do. Okay. Now, the very last thing we're going to talk about in zoogeography then is how habitats start to pool individuals. Absolutely disgusting. So we've already looked at how this makes a specific species. So we looked at speciation, right, through reproductive isolation techniques and evolution. And so really this very last bit that we have here is talking about where are we going to find these organisms, right? And how do these final habitats, two slides on this board, interplay with those traits that are making these final species. Okay, so the first of which, in the slide set that we're interested in, will be at least somewhat familiar, right? So these are terms as we look at groups of organisms we've seen before, hopefully to some degree. We talked about them in, if you were in my Bio 130 class. So we have this chance, right, this familiarity platform that we like to start with. I'm not sure what is on your slide and what's not. So these are the last two slides we're going to be interested in. Okay. So on the left-hand side, I have our kind of our review terms. Just going to kind of keep an eye on it, make sure nothing disappears on me while we're going here. Okay, so our goal here when we're looking at this is to think about how do all of these things, right, group our organisms together, and then they move around as units. And we've used terms, for example, like population already in our conversation. Okay, so let's make sure that we have a really good understanding of these terms before we add some new ones. So what would be a really good example of a population? Us. Right, so we have a single species. Just going to pre-apologize for any spelling errors, right? I was never good at this on the fly. So single species, right? Humans being the single species in this case, all hanging out in one space. Not leave myself a lot of area. So if my handwriting starts sucking, please say something. That's the reason I don't usually do this on the fly. So my spelling is bad, my handwriting is bad. So I do apologize. Okay, so we could do humans on campus, right? Okay, we could also think about something like the gray squirrels, right? We've talked about those, right, running around on campus. Right? All of one species, all in one place. Okay? If I want to talk about a community, how would I alter that definition? More than one species. Good. Holy cats. Yeah. You gotta warn me, man.
I like that.
Hey, that looks really good, eh?
So, forward for future right now, it's really finicky and really temperamental when it wants to work or not. I'm going to look at other options. So this was our backup at the moment, but it's working right now, so I'm going to use it.
Okay, so I didn't do anything wrong. I just didn't want to push the button like 85 times.
This is just a little.
We're looking at replacing it. I think it's getting to me.
Okay.
And it's causing more issues.
So what exactly is the solution?
Probably a new one of these and more on it.
Okay, so just pray when I get into class in the morning.
Fortunately, if it happens again, call us. Worst case scenario, we can take one of these here and hook it up into that, and we'll bypass this signal. So we can use the class.
Okay.
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 We apologize for all the issues and the intrusion.
Okay. Just pray. This is fine. This is fine. And this cannot be good for anybody's vertigo. Okay. I have to edit that out now. All right, this is fine. Shoving it on this keyboard, it's not clean anymore. Okay, so for community, we were looking at having multiple species of this in the same place, right? So if we were looking at our example we've been running with, right? This might be our humans plus our gray squirrels, right? There's two different species all in one place here on campus. So sorry, I don't know how to do that any other way. Super ideal. All right. Now there's 20 minutes left. It's fine. It's all fine. Okay. Okay, so if I wanted to alter that to an ecosystem, how would I alter that definition?
Include the things that were like never alive to like the abiotic factors.
Good. So I'm going to start by still having multiple species. Okay, but I also now want to include the abiotic environment, right? Or things that were never alive. All right, so here we have our humans, our gray squirrels, and the amount of rain, right? Rain is something that is abiotic, right? Or soil, right? Dirt, okay? So ecosystem, right? We need to be building in some of those system, right? Our non-living components in the space that we're in. Okay, so what if I'm going to be talking about the biosphere? Yeah, it's big, right? So some global component. Right, so we could be talking about how like the dust from the deserts in Africa can get blown and add themselves to Antarctica or Puerto Rico, right? These are broad scale types of things. Okay, so dusty though these may be, at least some of these terms should hopefully feel a little bit familiar, okay? I know this was a little bit of chaos. Again, you guys have been really awesome. I know we've had just ridiculous tech issues in here. So I want to thank you one more time. Any questions about our definitions before we move on to some brand new ones? Okay, so now let's focus on these three ones, which were the right half of my board. Thankfully, we've been saved from my poor handwriting. Okay, so the key here again is how can we think of other ways to categorize organisms to understand how they're interacting in their environments, right, or how their traits are defining them. Okay, so one term that I wanted to put up here just because we've already used it a lot. Okay, so if you use a word, we should make sure that we're all using the word the same way, right? Is habitat, and this is one of those words that you probably start using because it feels intuitive before we ever put actual definition on paper, right? Nature shows spit it out, and CNN anchors spit it out. So want to make sure we're using this the way we mean it, right? Certainly when we talk about habitat, we just mean like, where are those animals hanging out? Okay, and the word naturally, even now, sort of means loosely. Okay, these can be human places as well nowadays, right? Macaques, which is a type of monkey, several types of falcons, rats. Their core homes now are with humans. Okay, so it's where are they living? What we mean by natural is not pets. Okay, it's not something you're going to put in a cage. It's not a cage animal you randomly released and hope for the best, right? But it's where our populations of this animal living on their own, unfettered by people. This is what we mean when we use the term natural in this place. Okay, so where are animals hanging out as non-pets? Right, and this can mean anything, right? And this depends usually on what we're talking about. Okay, so when I say broad as an ecosystem, care specific as a tree. Okay? If, for example, I was talking about like a raccoon, and I was talking about, well, what is a raccoon's habitat, right? Those little guys, for reasons we'll talk about, are pretty much all over the place, all over the time, right? So you might talk about things like, well, they like woody areas and running streams and deciduous trees with lots of berries and trash cans, right? So when we were defining a habitat for something like a raccoon, okay, we would probably have quite a broad definition. Okay? If, however, we were talking about, say, the habitat of a koala, right, cute little big-eared marsupial type thing, okay, you probably would not need to give that much information. Because koalas are small and very smooth brain, touched in the head. So pretty much they hang out on their eucalyptus trees, okay? Can't even recognize the leaves when they're loose and falling on the ground, so their habitat's just the tree. And that's like it, right? Yes, they're going to get down and like go to the bathroom and live their best life, but they don't do anything else. So depending on the organism, it's really going to depend on the specificity here. And a lot of that has to do with, segue, what type of organism we are. I'm such a hot mess today. I had my supplement up and everything was ready for you guys. All right. So by and large, the other way that we can start to categorize organisms, and this will play into later on When we start thinking about what makes species successful, will they go extinct? Right, as we're going to talk a bit about extinctions this semester. Are generalists versus specialists? Okay, so this is asking about how many different types of habitats or how broad of a habitat can those organisms subsist in? Okay, so for generalist species, right, being more general, they can subsist in more habitats or larger habitats. Okay, so harkening back to our raccoon, okay, they're sort of like the cockroaches of the animal kingdom. Okay, raccoons and rats. Those guys seem to be able to hack anything. Macaques are now kind of like this too, right? Just in the eastern half of the world where they live. Right, they can kind of hack anything from treetops to lowland bushes to like human dwellings. Nothing fetters these guys. That's really what we're talking about with a generalist, right? I can handle many food types, coming from many places. Temperature doesn't bother me super easily. I'm just sort of a beefy, tough animal. Okay, on the other hand, we have specialists. Okay, and the most extreme version of this, right, specialists are like the fussy ones. So the best example I can come up with, the most extreme specialist here would be like the panda. Right, I can live in one location, largely because I eat one freaking thing. Okay, bamboo shoots and leaves. Bamboo is fussy on where it grows, so they can only be where their food is, which is.
Bamboo you couldn't kill. Like, I mean, obviously you can't kill it, but it's like one of those like almost invasive.
So that's a great question. So Kaylee's question is, I thought bamboo was rather tough. The question is, it sort of is. It does grow quite quickly, which is what it's famous for, right? The problem with bamboo, and so why bamboo, or ultimately here the panda, is endangered, is where bamboo grows natively, like
Around rivers and grow like pretty, but the humidity is really high. That's like it's a ton of bamboo that
one of the main things that ended up happening, and sort of like what Maria alluded to, is bamboo tends to grow around really moist areas. The other place or thing that likes to grow around really moist areas are people. So what ended up happening is major bamboo forests were cut in half by huge human developments. Okay, so you have on a lot of these mountains, bamboo forests above in elevation, right, we're not floating, above elevation and below elevation, which is fine. Pandas that live above keep living their best life. Pandas that keep living below keep living their best life. But we've not only shrunken the bamboo forests, right, because now this is all city, but there's no connection. So they can't travel between the two sites. So the population is disconnected. They can't hang out and breed and party and whatever pandas do. There's also less food. And if this is all you're eating, you actually have to eat an astonishing tons of it at a time. And so this major issue is one of the issues that we see that's driving the issues with the pandas. Now, of course, not all specialists have the same problem, right? If they didn't have their food supply cut off, they'd pretty much have a corner on the market. No one else eats this crap. Because why would you? He does look happy. All he does is sit and eat. I'd be happy too, man. Okay. Our new terms, habitat, generalist, and species good. Keep in mind that what we think of these with our definitions is the most extreme. This is certainly a gradient, right? Not everybody is as specialized as the panda, I only live in one place and eat one thing. Like, that's super specialist. Okay, not everybody is generalized as the raccoon. I can pretty much live anywhere, or the rat, right? I can live anywhere, eat anything, including your wall. And most of us fall out somewhere in the middle, tending more than one way or another. So where would humans fall on here? Are we more generalist or are we more specialist? We're more generalist, right? We live lots of places. We eat lots of different types of foods. Not all of us. Right? Some of us fall more along that line than others, right? We were going to get like 25 minutes into Life of the Water. This was very frustrating today. Okay. Well, it is what it is. What a ride of a day it's been. Lost my soccer for a third time now. That was very disappointing. I don't know what I'm going to do about the test. So we'll figure this out. This is fine. I'm not going to start a brand new unit to do like 2 slides. That seems stupid. So we'll go ahead and pause it here. Stop it here. Hi, T, how you wound me. Once again, you guys really are awesome. I know this is very frustrating. So I appreciate it when